All right, to me, this is like one of the first questions in this module where we have just like a little bit of memorization. And some of you might not have gotten to this in school yet, or maybe you don't remember it, but if you can remember this thing, it's going to be very, very easy for you. Whenever we're asked about the number of solutions, not what the solution is, but the number of solutions, we want to think about first whether we're given lines or quadratics, right? Do I have a regular x, or do I have an x squared somewhere? If I have an x squared, we're doing a completely different thing. But if I look at this, I don't see any x squareds. I don't see any appearing anywhere, right? So this is a normal situation where we have lines because there are no x squareds. Now, when we have lines and we're asked for the number of solutions, the best way to think of it is as multiple lines, right? So I keep using the word plural, but technically we only have one equation here. But in my mind, I see this as two equations. I split it right down the middle, and one of them is really obvious then. We have y equals 4x plus 12. And what we're really looking at is the slope and the y-intercept, right? So remember, lines should be written in y equals mx plus b form, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So sometimes you'll have to arrange things differently or move things around, but in this case, it just works out nicely. Now comes the memorization part, is when I have two lines and they are exactly the same. They have the same slope and they have the same y-intercept. They are going to have infinitely many solutions. They're literally the same line. So that means that they're going to intersect at literally every single point. So infinitely many solutions, these are the same line, same slope, same y-intercept. So now I'm looking at this other side and I'm kind of like throwing a little y equals in there as well, but I recognize that it's not quite written the same way. So I need to maybe rearrange this a bit and see what's going on. So I need to distribute this a. And you could do this with guess and check here, but I'm gonna do it this way anyway, just in case we had one that didn't have guess and check. I wanna make this look like 4x plus 12. So ax plus 3a over 2. That's kind of the line, but that still doesn't look like y equals mx plus b to me, because y equals mx plus b is like two separate things, and that divided by 2 is kind of messing me up. So what I'd love to do is kind of split it even further. So let's do a over 2x plus 3 over 2a. Or I could do 3a over 2, but let's just leave it like that. Now that looks a lot more like y equals mx plus b. And so now I can start to compare things, right? And I'm trying to compare, let's start with the slope. That seems to be the easiest thing. What I want is for this a over 2x to mimic the 4x that I had before, and for the 3 over 2a to mimic 12. So I'm trying to think what number will do it. And this is where I do think that the guess and check can certainly help some of you, but let's just think about it, right? We could also set these two things equal to each other. Because if they're supposed to be the same in math means equals. So a over 2 is equal to 4. So a is equal to 2 times 4 is 8, right? So 8 over 2 is 4, that's it, and that's the answer. Now we could try it with the 12 as well, right? So these are supposed to be the same. So 3 over 2 times a is 8 plus or equals 12. Is that true? So 8 times 3 is 24 divided by 2 is equal to 12. Yes. So that's proof that they're the same. So to me, this would have been much shorter of a question, right? Because I have this thing memorized. I can see what I need very quickly. So this is much more like a 30-second question for me, but I did take the time because I think it's important. I'll add in 2 more pieces of information that might be helpful. Infinitely many solutions with lines, we need to have the exact same line. But a couple other things can happen. We could have no solutions, which would happen when we have the same slope, but different y-intercepts. So if the 4s were the same, but it was 4x plus 11 instead of 4x plus 12, those would be different y-intercepts. So those lines would be parallel and they would never intersect. But for most cases, if there's just any sort of, where can I put this? Here, I'll put it up here. One solution, that's the normal thing. That happens anytime that the two lines have different slopes. The intercepts doesn't matter, but if the slopes are different, then it's it. Then there are two lines moving in different directions and they're gonna have exactly one solution. I have a lesson dedicated to this. Just go to number of solutions, no x squared in my YouTube channel, and I explain this in much more detail. This is the kind of thing that can easily add some points to your score because it is just a little bit of memorization. There's not a lot of work involved in these questions, and if you can get these right confidently and quickly, it's gonna save you time for even harder stuff later. And then yes, you're getting points that a lot of people do lose because they don't have this memorized.